let's go to nationwide, and we're going to pick up Dr. Damian King. Now, the Minister of Energy, Darrell Vaz, he, at the post-cabinet press briefing today, no, that's on Tuesday, told the country that Jamaica is near to making a decision as to whether or not they're going to drill for oil. The samples, according to the minister, positive. It doesn't mean that Jamaica will drill. It doesn't mean that Jamaica will start to be an exporter of oil or a processor of oil. But what it means is that there are some positive development. But Damian King of the University of the West Indies is saying that he hopes that it never happens. Yes. And he had a very interesting interview with Siobhan Campbell from Nationwide. I'm going to play it for you, and then I'm going to tell you that Damian King,
asking everyone to repost the live, please.
Damian King may be getting it wrong. Because opportunity is not the enemy. Mismanagement is. And in your life, in your personal life, I want you to note, mine too. Because I have had some opportunities in life that I have blown. Spend money where I shouldn't spend it. Drive, throw gas in a car, drive, go all the way up a place, go meet up with people that you never have to meet up with. Yes? Yes. Have you ever missed an opportunity? You know, take plane, fly out of country, to go meet people. For what? Squander your money. You know? Buy car where you never have to buy. Yes? Eat big fish and all that something. Opportunity is not the enemy. It is mismanagement. Yes. Mismanagement is the real enemy, not the opportunity. And enough of we, doors open for we, and we make it pass because we never manage ourselves good. We never manage the opportunities. So don't blame the opportunity, blame yourself. I believe that I can tell you, you know, because Damian King is not entirely wrong. Because when you look at Venezuela, when you look at Iran and other countries, Iraq, yeah. But there are other examples you can draw onto because the United States have more oil than many of these countries. Guyana, they have been drilling for the last 5 years. It's the fastest growing economy in the world. Okay, but Singapore have no natural resource. Singapore don't even have a river. Nothing. But Jamaica had bauxite. And there was a time when Jamaica was producing more bauxite than any country in the world. And we squandered that. But King's arguments are flawed. Because to suggest that because other countries waste the opportunity, Jamaica will do the same, is a disrespect. Is a disrespect to the leadership that Jamaica presently has. What King is suggesting is that our leaders can manage it? Or is Mr. King saying that he's not sure whether or not the Labour Party will remain in power, and so he fears that the PNP coming in power would waste the resources? It's an interesting conversation. Let's listen to the interview and we come back to have some thoughts on it.
In terms of what could potentially happen if Jamaica strikes it rich with oil. I have with us noted economist Dr. Damian King, who says he hopes Jamaica does not reach to a point where it must make that decision because he's concerned. And you can comment if I'm misquoting you or not summarizing what you've suggested properly, Dr. King, that under the circumstances where nations have found that kind of natural resource, it has not redounded to the benefit of the country in the long term, because it essentially it gives those in power almost free rein to do with as what they please, and it does not allow them to essentially develop those systems or stick to those systems that ensure further economic development. Is that an accurate summation of what you are suggesting, Dr. King?
Well, I like how you bias the discussion by saying strike it rich with oil, as if those two are the same thing.
That was just my term.
My whole point is that striking oil doesn't mean you have struck it rich. So you can't say that. Yes, I hope we strike it rich, but striking oil does not mean you strike it rich, as the many examples I've given and the empirical evidence from other countries demonstrate.
But that's why I want to then point to Norway, Dr. King, which has about 7 billion barrels of proven oil reserves left to it, expected to last them some 80 years into the future. And they've managed that reserve quite well in terms of utilizing it for further investments into their economy, into their pension fund, into assisting their people through their sovereign wealth fund. Don't you think Jamaica can adopt that kind of model? Does it necessarily mean that it's a curse that we must, at the end of the next, say, 5-10 years, find ourselves back here begging?
Well, we don't have to speculate on that, because Jamaica has its own experience it can look to. Jamaica once had a sovereign wealth fund. In the 1960s and 1970s, Jamaica was the largest producer of bauxite in the world. In the world, we were the largest producer of bauxite. And in the 1970s, Jamaica established a sovereign wealth fund called the Capital Development Fund, in which the proceeds of the bauxite levy were put into, which is separate from central government, separate from the consolidated fund where tax revenue is going to. Did it turn us into Norway? No, it didn't. What happened is that because the economy was so badly managed that every single year when after the Capital Development Fund was established, the government simply transferred money from the Capital Development Fund into a regular consolidated fund, so it could continue to function in the presence of a collapsing economy. That's the problem.
And I accept.
So suddenly, with our own experience, and that of most other countries, we're just going to, cross our fingers and close our eyes and believe it's going to be different.
But I accept that point, Dr. King, in terms of our historic understanding of how we've managed these things. And I point again to how we've done so far, as you said, in a relatively short period of time compared to our 60 plus years of independence, the last 13 or so years, we've done a better job of it. But certainly there are lessons to be learned from other nations that we can incorporate now into managing an asset such as oil reserves going forward. It certainly can't necessarily be gloom and doom. What do you believe would be necessary to ensure that we stay on the right path, as Norway has done?
All I'm saying is that we have not conducted the management of our economy and society like Norway in any respect. What makes you think the mere discovery of oil is going to turn our institutions into the quality of Norway?
That's not my suggestion, Dr. Clapper. Sorry, Dr. King. What I'm suggesting is, what positions can we take, as you understand it? What decisions can be made by the government to ensure that we do not fall into that resource curse?
The decision we can make is not to explore for oil.
But Dr. King, that's not a realistic decision.
And then, for the government to continue to have revenue, it is forced to continue to do what it has started to do, which is create a better environment for economic growth. So it is to continue with its good fiscal management, continue with inflation targeting, continue with investing in...
Okay, I think we have gotten Dr. King's argument. Dr. King is saying that we shouldn't get excited. And he hopes that we never really, pursue this path. But I want to say something clearly, and I say this without apology. Jamaica must stop fearing opportunity. And Perkins once spoke of intellectual ghetto, which, not my term, but I think what Perkins was trying to say was that he was disappointed that institutions where learning should be at its peak was not providing the type of rigorous intellectual solutions to the problems that Jamaica faces. The argument has been made that we should hope oil is never found here. That somehow prosperity beneath our soil would become a curse rather than a blessing. The prodigal son said to his father, "Give me my portion." And the father gave it to him. And of course, he made a mess of it. History is replete with people who have gotten wealth and have wasted it because they did not appreciate the effort that went into the creation of that wealth. But that argument rests on a dangerous assumption. And it is that Jamaica cannot be trusted with its own potential. It's not an argument of oil, Dr. King is not making an argument of oil. Dr. King is suggesting that he does not believe in Jamaica. He does not believe in Jamaica. Dr. King is an economist, and there are some who would argue that Dr. King is making an argument on economics. But Dr. King is not coming across as patriotic. Because I personally reject that argument that Jamaica cannot be trusted with its potential. We need more people to believe in Jamaica. And if Jamaica is going to advance and progress, people like Dr. King can no. If I had a if I had a student in Dr. King's class, I'd probably pull them. I wouldn't want Dr. King to teach me with that type of thinking. And I'm going to show you where that thinking is coming from, you know, because it's important to point it out. There are some in Jamaica, you see, who believe that we are the Jamaica of the 1970s. I reject that. Yes, we had bauxite wealth. And yes, we struggled to manage it effectively. Those are not in dispute. But let's tell the full story. That period under Manley and the PNP was defined by specific ideological direction. That period is dead today. We now have an independent central bank, and Dr. King is an economist. He should know better. I do not have the intellectual capacity that Dr. King has. Dr. King is a professor in economics. I'm applying common sense. You know? No, sir. The ideological 70s is dead, you know. Dead. Under the ideological 70s, you had the state-heavy controls, economics. It was an experimenting. You know, NASA just placed 4 persons on the far side of the moon and brought them back to Earth, splashed them down in the Pacific Ocean. You think they did that just like that? You know that they had to send an unmanned unit on the same journey before they put men up there? What is Dr. King talking about? We haven't learned any lessons from the 70s. That was not destiny. It was not our destiny. It was a matter of the decisions we made. So we don't learn nothing. And I wonder what was the role of the University of the West Indies in this. You want me to expose it? Because the University of the West Indies, you know, they must not be absolved of blame. Same you with it. That taxpayers' money fund. You think they must be absolved of blame? Countries evolve, Dr. King. Governments learn. Institutions mature. You think Nigel Clark, Andrew Holness, Favour Williams would waste the oil resources that Jamaica produce today? If you think like that, Dr. King, you don't belong. You should not be a part of the state. You should leave. You're not you're not helping Jamaica here at all, man. You want to tell me that we have oil that can help our hospitals, our children, fix our road, pay our people better, and we mustn't take it up because we are going to waste it? It's what type of colonial backwardness this coming out of the University of the West Indies? So when we are told today that oil would somehow doom Jamaica, what are we really being told? We are being told, you know, that we haven't learned nothing. That we are forever trapped by our past. But I want you to look around. And you know, we have to be careful of some of these people that we have shaping the minds of our young people, you know, the pessimistic professors. The pessimist professors. We need more optimists in our classrooms that can help our young people to dream, to aspire, to create. That's how we put men on the moon. And now we're thinking of putting them at Mars. You know how much months it would take you to travel to Mars? 7 months. Flying at 4 times the speed of sound. And men are planning to go there. That don't come through pessimism. It comes through the desire to dream, to aspire. We now have cars driving on the roads without men in them. What are we talking about? That we are to be trapped by our past? Look around you. Since 2016, under the administration led by Holness, Jamaica has pursued fiscal discipline. Dr. King should be quiet. You should be quiet, Dr. King. And the reason why Dr. King should be quiet, because Dr. King is sounding as a man like, it's like Dr. King fear economic progress of Jamaica will keep the government going. Dr. King is sounding like a PNP opportunist. You know, I heard Portia Simpson Miller when she was prime minister saying that she prayed that she could have find oil. And I think Mama P was genuinely wanting to help her people. She was praying for oil to be found because guess what? Yes, we made a mistake with bauxite. Yes, we made a mistake, but we don't learn, man. Isn't that what life is about? Learning. You think I am the same man that I was in my 30s? I learned. I made some mistakes too. But you learn. And the greatest evidence that Jamaica would not waste this opportunity is in the last election. Look at what happened in the last election. The government had the fiscal space to run with it, and they didn't. The government had the fiscal space to run with it. They brought the debt down from 140 odd% of GDP. It was scheduled to go to just about 60. And the government had the fiscal space, and it acted responsibly. Why do you think that all of a sudden Andrew Holness would start to be irresponsible? It's a disrespect to the government led by the Prime Minister. And you know, I understand that Dr. King provides advice to the government sometimes. They should stop taking advice from him. No more advice from Dr. King. Dr. King starts sound like Ralston Hyman. Go sit down, Dr. King. Don't take any more advice from him. You know, the government established the central bank. They reduced the debt burden, strengthened oversight. Jamaica has the fiscal rules. And Jamaica has built a level of economic credibility that seems once out of our reach. We are not perfect, but we're not reckless. It is not a perfect government, but it is not a reckless government. And that matters, because opportunity is not the enemy. Opportunity is not the enemy. It is mismanagement that is the enemy. Oil does not corrupt a country. It's not oil that corrupts the country, you know. It is the systems that are weak. It is the poor leadership. It is bad policies. And if that is the real risk, then the answer is not to pray that opportunity never comes. The answer is to build the systems that ensure we manage it well. The amount of oil reserves that America has is mind-boggling, you know. You see them wasting it? Oil can't corrupt no country, man. People corrupt the country. And if you have people in place that can manage, why shouldn't they allow the opportunity? Dr. King is saying that the Andrew Holness-led administration can't manage it. And you know, some might call it chance. Others might call it timing. Because perhaps the real question is not just if oil is found, but when it is found. And whether we are ready when it comes. It's not about whether oil was found, you know, it's when. And today I think Jamaica is more ready than it has ever been. We were ready for it in the 90s. We were not ready for it. So could it be providential? Could it be an act of God that God said, set up on a country first, get on act together, establish on systems, and put the right man in place, and then I will make on find the oil. Could that be? I just put that out there. Not a prophet, but I'm just putting the argument out there that maybe Jamaica is just ready, because had we found it in the 90s, probably it could have been a stronger argument, but not now. Let the opportunity come. So instead of shrinking back, instead of saying, let it pass by, I say this to you, let the opportunity come. Pray, Jamaica, that we find the oil. Let the tests come. Let the oil flow. Not as a curse, but as a responsibility. It's a test of our sovereignty, a test of our responsibility, a test as to whether, as a nation, we have matured, we have grown. Because a confident nation does not run from its potential. A confident nation prepares for it. It rises to meet it. And Jamaica today must believe. It must believe that it can. All right. Before we must challenge that dangerous idea. We must challenge it, not because it comes from a place of ill intent, but because of where it leads us as a nation. Dr. King is suggesting resource curse. The idea that natural wealth can weaken institutions and breed corruption. Yeah? Jamaica cannot trust itself that if we find wealth beneath our soil, we will fail to govern it. If that opportunity comes, we must reject it out of fear. That's not just economics, you know. That is a mindset. And that is what I am disappointed with Dr. King for, the mindset. You know, it's the thing that we were warned about, the internalization of limitation in post-colonial societies. The internalization of limitation in post-colonial societies. That quiet belief that we are not ready. We're not capable. We're not disciplined enough to manage our own destiny. We must reject that. You know, last night we spoke about independence. This type of thinking is enslavement. We must reject it. And I believe that modern Jamaica should reject it. Because as I said earlier, this is not the Jamaica of the past decades. This is not the Jamaica of past decades. We have seen since 2016 significant transformation of the society. Fiscal discipline has improved, debt has been reduced, and systems have been strengthened. We're not perfect, but we're not stagnant. So to suggest that Jamaica in this moment must fear opportunity is to ignore the progress we have made. We must not be defined by our circumstances, you know. We must be defined by our choices as a nation and as individuals. We must not be defined by our circumstances. Okay? Many of you listening to me tonight, you were from circumstances that could debilitate you, but you rose above those circumstances. And look at you tonight. It is by the choices you made. It is not the oil that does the corrupting. It is the leaders that you have. And so we have to take issue with Dr. King's conclusion. Because if you are an economist, your responsibility is not to tell a nation to step away from potential wealth. As an economist, you don't tell a nation to step away from potential wealth. Your responsibility, Dr. King, is to help design the systems to ensure that wealth is used wisely. As a patriotic Jamaican economist, you don't tell the nation to step away from it. You propose safeguards. You propose proposals to strengthen institutions and to guide policy. To say, let us hope it never comes. That's not right. Jamaica does not need fear. Jamaica needs preparation. And you can look around the world and see both failure and success. There are nations that have oil that have failed, and there are nations that have oil that succeeds. Let us look at the ones that succeed and model them. The lesson is not that resources are a curse. It is mismanagement that is the curse. So the real question before us is not whether oil would harm Jamaica. That's not the question. The real question is, do we believe we're capable of governing ourselves? Because as a nation, if we reject opportunity out of fear, we will never discover our strength. And Jamaica in 2016 is different from Jamaica in 2026. Jamaica in 2026 should not be a country that shrinks from responsibility. Who would have thought that Jamaica is one of the first countries to secure a catastrophe bond? And look at our recovery since Hurricane Melissa. We have to rise to the task, man. We have to rise to the task. Finally, there is a term in philosophy called determinism. And what Dr. King is doing is using is economic determinism. And determinism is about resources leads to corruption. You know, he is using that intellectual line. But there are others that can be cited too. Jean-Paul Sartre said that societies are not bound by circumstances. They choose what they become. You know, when you cite Singapore, for example, clearly you're talking about leadership. Institutions evolve. Countries evolve. Being more responsible, being more accountable. Not avoidance, Oil does not corrupt a nation. Choices do. So we don't agree. We don't agree at all with Dr. King's argument. And before I go to the callers, I'm going to tell you this, you see, that you see this resource curse is a mindset problem. Did you know that Jamaica today, we have the record for the 100 meters in the world? Still, we have the fastest man, you know, who would have told us that? Resource curse is a mindset problem. Dr. King is expressing a kind of inherited pessimism. And it is common, you see, this pessimistic view of the world, especially in our society, come out of colonialism. Colonial systems, you see, trained Caribbean economies to extract, but not control. Colonial systems were extractors. They took out the wealth from the countries. So like all Jamaica, enough money from Jamaica was taken out, you know, and sent to Spain and England. Colonial systems train Caribbean economies to extract, but not control. And it is very, very sad that someone of the stature of King thinks like this. It's almost like the vestiges of colonialism is part of their thinking. The colonial history created a belief that we cannot manage our own wealth responsibly. That's what it was about. Can't manage. We can't manage. Yes. So the fear isn't just about oil. It's about self-doubt disguised as prudence. We doubt in our capacity. It's disguised prudence. But we must not internalize the limits that are placed on us. And so rejecting oil out of fear is not wisdom.